Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Anyway, I figured I'd leave my picture of Moses up this time around, and I'll talk around it. I could see the chat's good while it's up. But the other thing I didn't bring up yesterday when I was talking about that picture was not just Moses' frustration, but he felt the people didn't deserve the law. They didn't deserve the law. The way they were behaving after he left, even his own brother. So anyway, we'll wait for people to get into the chats. I'm going to talk about something that happened in Georgia. And a lot of you may have heard of it, and a lot of you may not have heard of it. Hi, Finding Dory. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Donna. How are you all doing? Yes, please hit the like button. Anyway, did y'all hear any news from Georgia? I'm going to get into some news from Georgia concerning a judge. And if you did hear something about it, feel free to put some in the chats. If you're new to the broadcast or just tuning in, if you want to know when I go live, hit the subscribe button and you can be part of the chats. And I want to thank everybody that's tuning in tonight and also everybody who comes in after the broadcast. So anyway, I'm going to talk about this situation in Georgia. Also, I hope I'm coming in clear, folks. Also, I'm going to be talking about Dr. Fauci. Hi, Sinsen. How are you doing? So when we talk about Dr. Fauci and how this Georgia situation will apply to Arizona, I feel. But I heard that you can't. Hi, Bubba, how you doing? But you can't put certain words in your title, even pictures. I heard that today. Pictures of a young lady named Carrie Lake. They don't get put around. They're muffled in the algorithm. So I'm going to talk about those issues, but I didn't put it in the thumbnail. That's okay. But anyway, folks, as people file in, I will ask again if anybody has heard anything out of Georgia. And as I lead up to that, I meant to get a copy of a thumbnail of a video I did a while back because somebody posted this picture that I think is very interesting. I did a video on this. Somebody said during the Nuremberg trials, even the media was prosecuted and put to DEATH for lying to the public. Hi, Reba. Hi, Sandy. So I did a video about that. And I'll have to put a thumbnail up one day so you guys can go look for it. It's over on RUMBLE. So, anyway, as these, what they call Twitter drops are coming out, Elon Musk, he put out an interesting one, I think. You don't know who these comms are going to or if they're just his musings. But he's got himself portrayed as the Batman. Some nights overlooking Gotham City. So he's put out some interesting tweets, and he put out one that I put this meme up, I don't know, a month ago, 3 weeks ago. I'm not brainwashed. They brainwashed you. Really? So those of you who've been following me, they probably remember me putting that meme up. Now, I don't know what can be put on that Twitt account that is not allowed here. So I'll just take my chances and go over some of these subjects. But I said a while back about Dr. Fauci, which is the focus now, and other people. I said, watch the wives. That was a quote from a certain letter that a lot of us follow. And among the many things that have been coming out about Dr. Fauci, we have this file here that Elon Musk responded to. It's a little blurry, but that's okay. You can read it, but it makes it harder for the machine to pick it up. Okay? If you go to his Twitter account, you'll see a link to an article. But what it discusses is that no one seems to realize that the head of biotechs at NBI or whatever, the person who is supposed to make sure that Fauci behaves ethically is his wife. Not a lot of people know that. Not only is watch the wives about how they interact interagency. I'll be working for one agency and have my daughter or wife or somebody working at another agency that's covering my back, but also where they get their money from. So, yes, Vincent, I did. What was it? Operation. I'm not sure the operation. As far as I can say about that, I've gone to other channels and I've seen reports on operations, everything we've heard of about paper, and then the other one is clip. Everything from things that happen in Argentina to Antarctica to the Black Forest, the Vatican, all kinds of stuff. And what was the name of that operation since then? See if anybody in the chats have heard about it. But anyway, I was talking about Fauci. Let me see. Musk is on him like a bulldog. And while we got a bunch of people in chats now. Northwoods, no, I haven't heard a lot about Northwoods or enough to say anything, whether what's true or what's not true. And I can do a discussion on some operations, like the Gitmo thing, supposedly black cats. We can get into that in another live stream. I'm trying to keep my live streams under an hour. Let's see. Let me just check the chats, folks. Okay. No, I haven't heard. It doesn't seem to be anybody else has heard much about that either. Hi, Nikki B. How you doing, honey? So anyway, let me see. I've got some of these things around. I have them organized somewhat. I have to go by memory. So let's see. Here's something else from Elon Musk. Some of the words I can't say, okay? But it's interesting that he's putting this stuff out. He put this yesterday. And I covered quite a bit about Rand Paul in his showdowns with Dr. Fauci, okay? But anyway, people don't seem to pay attention to it, but they do pay attention to Twitt. So gain of function in this context is just another way of saying BIO weapon. Some good nuggets in article, important to note, that Fauci authored a 2012 paper arguing for this type of research. Obama wisely put it on pause, but Fauci restarted it. I got to take a umbrage with that a little bit. He was only put on pause for looks. For looks. He didn't wisely put it on pause. They knew darn good and well that they were going to continue with that type of research, which is a violation of international law. And as we know, Rand Paul called him out on the floor of the Senate. So a lot of people are like, oh gosh, I didn't know that. Well, we knew it months ago watching the exchange between Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci. Year by zero, Fauci bypassed the moratorium on GOF research to fund dangerous projects like the alliances work in HAN. He then worked internally and changed NIH's definition to evade culpability. In 2022, he awarded more money to Peter Daszak for more GOF research. And Elon Musk said that should be called BIO weapon research, as the function referred is lights out. What was the name changed to this time? So, Fauci's on the hot seat big time. And these are all things that are factual. They're not where when you tell your friends or show them a picture of the tweet or actually share the tweet with them, they can see for themselves that this was situation had more to do with breaking the law for financial gain or for ideology or both. So, along with that, we have information coming out about not just JFK, but Robert Kennedy. So this one would be a good one to share. I remember when he was shot, and there's some stories out there about his person that was convicted of shooting him, Sirhan. He is in prison. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. Now I'm just looking through the chats here, and it was reported, that the night before 9/11, he shaved his head and requested a television the night before that incident in September, the 11th day. And he never watched TV, but the guards found it odd, and this has never been refuted that he exhibited that kind of behavior. So he had some knowledge beforehand. And also, Bill Ayers, Ayers, who was a member of the Weather Underground back in the 60s and was a mentor of Obama, mentioned Sirhan in his book he wrote. That was brought up. I will give credit to Sean Hannity for bringing that up. But anyway, here it is that the C.I. and then A, what they did to JFK, and the theorists were right this entire time. Would it be fair to start questioning those deaths by these so-called lone gunmen? Because I think it would be very fair. And, you know, there's some keywords in the rest of it that I can't read. but you all can read and you get the gist of it, that people are going to be starting to look at these so-called lone gunman situation and things that happened that changed our political landscape. And I showed the video last night of Richard Nixon announcing that we were going off the gold standard, and I firmly believe that he was the president under fire and was in many ways captive of a system that had grown too powerful beyond its intention of what the politicians who started it felt it would be. It's become a haven for international criminality, and I'll go over that some more as I progress through the broadcasts. And then we have also Ultra Peppy Lives Matter. Again, the stuff is a little blurry because it's harder for the machine to pick up and get me in trouble, but you all can read it. You can get a screenshot and expand. Here, watch how much easier it is to read when I expand it, see? So anyway, I don't want to expand it myself because it can be picked up by machine. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that Bush Sr. became the director of that place, and that place factually, well, you can see that, what they did to JFK. This is the same man who talked openly about a new world order. And I remember first hearing that from him when he was giving this speech. I heard it live, and my antennas went up immediately. But I did not grasp at the time the import of that statement, but it did make me feel very, very uncomfortable. So everything is connected. That's what people need to understand. The web of corruption was so sinister that only God can and will truly save us. So, this stuff is freely going about the Twitt3r, and I'm looking to see in the chats if anybody's heard about this Georgia case that I'm talking about that was just decided. A judge did something. He reversed. He vacated a selection. Okay? And some people might think it's podunk, but I'll go over it with you in just a bit. And how I feel it will play a role. Now, somebody else put up a picture of a luncheon, and I'll expand it so you can see the names, but if you get a screenshot and expand it yourself, I did chop off Amy Dean there at the bottom, her position, but you see who Barack Obama was having a luncheon with and who he was toasting. All these individuals here, and who you see, Dick Costello up in the upper right-hand corner, Twitter CEO. So I'm wondering if this wouldn't be, and some of you may not know what I'm talking about, and I can expound on it in later broadcasts, but the equivalent of a wanna-see conference where people had to go on testimony of others as to what was being laid out as a plan, okay, by the Third Reich to deprive the German people of control of their government. Not only that, but to the main purpose of the Wannsee Conference was a final solution. Okay? But anyway, so this is, we got Twitter CEO, Yahoo CEO, president of Stanford University, Netflix CEO, Larry Ellison, Oracle. And oh, by the way, this guy right here, Barack Obama, he's worked a big shot at Netflix now, okay? John Chambers, Cisco CEO. And I don't know what, Genentech, Art Levinson, Google CEO. Oh, Eric Schmidt. See that? And John Doerr Kleiner Perkins, partner. I didn't get Amy Doerr's position in there. But anyway, Wesley Group, Apple CEO, and we all know how Apple is knocking things off their platform they don't agree with. And we got the very famous Mark Zucker, and then Berg, Facebook. So here you see how they operate. They're all getting together, toasting each other, discussing things. And the next thing you know, we can't say certain words. I have to talk in gibberish and riddles and spell stuff out because the individuals at this table have decided what is best. KNS cleanup. No, I haven't heard anything about that. We were talking about that earlier in another operation that was mentioned in the chats. And as I said before, I have heard of operations over the past 5 years from all over the place. Secret prisons in Argentina and things in the Antarctic and what have you. But I know what's going to affect change in our situation. I might as well, let me see. I want to get things out of the way before I talk about what happened in Georgia. Did you all get to see? I didn't get any clips out of it. I'll let you all check it out yourself. Body language ghosts. A lot of people have said that they watch this. And I referred to this YouTube creator early in my videos when I played the clip about Lindsey Graham discussing with Kavanaugh about the laws of war and unlawful combatants, and Body Language Ghosts had done a video that showed Dianne Feinstein's reaction to Brett Kavanaugh's responses and Lindsey Graham's questioning concerning case history and what the president is allowed to do under the laws of war. And Dianne Feinstein looked like she had seen a ghost. She did the whole slow motion bit of zeroing in on her behaviors after a private meeting during a break in the testimony. And I tell you, she went in that room and she came out and she looked like she aged half a decade. And I've talked about how we have not heard a lot out of Dianne Feinstein. But anyway, body language, judge on closing arguments. Lake versus Hobbs. Y'all might want to tune that in. And they put a little devil and a little angel on either side of him. So you might find that interesting. And I'm using this as a segue to talk about what happened in Georgia. Let me see. What happened there, Dory? Oh, I hope she didn't. I hope she didn't. And he stepped on a nail. I did that one time, went right through the top of my boot, all the way through my foot. I wonder if that's why my foot's bothering me now. Hi, Georgia. Hi, Melinda. Where is the site located? Talking about down in Cuba. Reba, I think that's what you're talking about. So anyway, I did mention that this judge, a lot of people are automatically saying, and they may be right, they're automatically saying he's dirty, this or that or this. But I can say that there's a possibility that he ruled the way he did. Because as I said, no matter how he ruled, was going to other courts. It was going to go to the appeals court. It's going to go to the Arizona Supreme Court. It's going to go from the Arizona Supreme Court to the Supreme Court. Okay? It may get jumped over and go straight, on a fast track. I don't know. But this judge, how he rules affects what arguments are going to have to be presented. So he may have done something to put the case in such a posture as to make it a little more difficult for them to get away with this. And, it's the nuances of the law. That is what we're going to talk about here with this Georgia situation. Nuances of the law. And if you go into a situation where there are certain points in the law you don't want to argue. But if you're going into appeals court in such a way that you have to argue the things you don't want to argue, if that makes any sense. So it's a chess game. It's a chess game, and we'll just have to see. I don't think that the Hobbs team is in a strong position. I don't think they are. And anyway, what happened? Let me give you a good example. What I've got on my thumbnail, it's all over the map. And that's my way of saying that these judges, like the one we just saw and the one I'm going to discuss in a second, they're all over the map. Okay? One ruled that there wasn't any cause to do anything with this selection. The other one in Georgia kicked out a selection. So as far as the judiciary goes, it appears they're all over the map. But also it's a little snide remark because these arguments are all over the map as far as who's got the most of a certain color. It's all about the map. So anyway, let me pull this article up here. Let me see where the first part of it is, if you'll give me a moment, because it's a little bit mixed up in the thing. But judge orders new. Now you can look this up yourself because it's Screven County, and this is going to sound small. But please keep in your mind what I've said in the past 3 videos. Precedent. Courts operate on precedent. Judge to order new situation in Screven County after systematic irregularities. Okay? And there's a photograph of some of the people involved. And I'm not going to get too much in detail with it, but I will go over the background before I get to the salient points. A highly anticipated hearing in Screven County lasted more than 3 hours last week and yielded a decision by a judge to order a new situation after testimony revealed elections in the 2022 election. Oh my gosh, I said it. Free speech, man. It's hard when you got free speech. The two commissioners in District 1, Tyler Thompson, filed a lawsuit against the superintendent, Debbie Brown, the supervisor, Hannah Doricio, and the commissioner, Edwin Lovett. The 5 contended that wrong ballots had been used at least 24 voters in District 1, and that the incorrect ballots may have had an impact on the county. So people were given the wrong pieces of paper. So without getting too much detail, I'll go over it. The race had a margin of just 7 votes, okay? And there were 2 of them that they verified they were given the wrong piece of paper to fill out. So they filed a response arguing they were the wrong parties to sue. Now, this has happened before, and the people go, oh, and they drop the suit against the one who says, you're not supposed to be suing me, you're supposed to be suing somebody else. Well, these attorneys did not drop the suit. They just added the one on that the plaintiffs did not drop the suit against the other 3, in which they asked the judge to order a new situation for District 1 Commission race. They just added the chief registrar is who they were claiming was the one to be sued. So that was a good move there. They didn't have to change their paperwork. They just added a defendant. So, because the court can say, okay, you got 4 defendants. I'm going to find 2 of them didn't have anything wrong, do anything wrong, and 2 did, or whatever. At least you don't have to redo the whole suit. Senior Judge Michael Karpf, a longtime judge from Chatham County, was appointed in November to oversee the proceedings, and he subsequently scheduled a hearing for the 22nd. And so here it goes with the people who are in attendance, and you can click on videos to watch it. And testimony from Commissioner Allison Willis took the stand first on Thursday, and she detailed, this is how this went down. When she first became aware of the irregularities and the actions she took afterwards, she told the court she learned of issues on the morning of Wednesday, the day after the situation, when she ran into the wife of a plaintiff at a local store. She said she did not vote in the county commission race, District 1, because it was not on her ballot. So this lady went back the next 6 hours. She went going through the registrations on district lines, comparing the map on record. Anyway, the long and short of it is somebody changed the map lines, and thereafter the ballots, the pieces of paper, because the lines were changed and they didn't do it properly, and people were given the wrong forms to fill out, as we know what they're called, and certain people were not put on those forms that were running for office in those districts. So it's another strategy we found out. Modus operandi, right? I've talked about that in the past. So anyway, this lady discovered this, and so she went back to the commissioners and said, when did these maps start being used, and when were the pieces of paper changed? I'm not going to go through all that, but it's obvious that something was rotten in Denmark. And let me see if this goes into anything the judge said. I would say, and this isn't the judge, this is one of the plaintiffs, this is the defendant, I believe. I would say between those folks who did make a mistake and the 713 people who didn't make a mistake, those 713 should not be required to do it again. In other words, they were saying they're blaming it on the person who was supposed to cast their piece of paper, not the people who changed the lines and gave out the wrong pieces of paper to participants. And another attorney made a similar argument, saying the evidence hadn't established a single illegal or legal issue. And he'd cited a case, McIntosh versus Diverger, which Judge Karff openly contested as it pertains to what the legal statuses standards are in determining when votes are not legal or illegal. Okay? Now, this is where it gets important. Decision by Judge Karff. After a 17-minute recess, he returned to the bench. He handily rejected the arguments by the two defense attorneys, citing a 2021 case by the Georgia Supreme Court. And remember this case name I'm going to, Smith versus Long County. That case superseded the other two rulings cited by attorneys, and established two prongs. And this is what we were talking about yesterday and the day before with the lake situation. Number one, or first bullet point. If the number of illegal VOTES exceeds the margin of the election results, that is sufficient grounds to set it aside. The second point, if there are systematic irregularities in the process that are sufficiently egregious to cast doubt on the result. Now, this is a Georgia Supreme Court decision that takes precedent over all the other cases that have been cited. And Judge Karff said, at least we have that, referring to the second point, which are they're sufficiently egregious to cast doubt on the result. Now, the point is that you can have either situation. If the number exceeds the margin, which we know in Arizona is 17,000. Or if the systemic irregularities are sufficiently egregious to cast doubt. So that is precedent at a state Supreme Court level, which can be used as precedent by other courts. So the next thing Judge Karff said, he rejected Duriso's definition of what constitutes something that's illegal, saying her opinion is not binding on me. That's a very important statement by that judge, because I wanted to point out that in the other election that was being contested by the Attorney General in Arizona, I can't remember his name right now, in their arguments on Christmas Eve, I was shocked to hear the attorneys speaking to the judge in the manner that they did. They were openly saying, you do not have the authority. You do not have the power. They were using that. You deal with courts with respect. You say the court does not have the latitude, or the court, it is beyond the court's scope, or something like that. You don't look at a judge and say, you don't have the power. You don't have the authority to do this. And this is what we're citing here, that the legislature said. But the judge put up with it. The judge put up with it, and I think he got cowed and intimidated by the way those attorneys were speaking to him. But this Judge Karff, that is a smackdown right there. Her opinion is not binding on me. He's the trier of fact. He decides what constitutes what is legal or illegal. And I'm very heartened to see this, even though it's a small county and a small process, I'll say, instead of using the E word. Where some were entitled to vote. Whoops, gosh, yeah, I can't really technically say either one of those words, VOTE or ELECTOR. Okay, but where they weren't allowed and where they were allowed to when they shouldn't have been has illegality, he says. He also belabored. This is another important point. He also belabored that he believed the mistakes were unintentional. Okay? He doesn't have to say, hey, they did this on purpose. The fact that the situation exists is enough. You don't have to prove the intention, just the facts. But he said, I'll repeat, he belabored, he believed the mistakes were unintentional, but are present nevertheless, warranting a new ELEC, okay? It was clearly unintentional. It was clearly affected by external circumstances, primarily the timing of it. But, as you see, he relied on Supreme Court precedents in Georgia Supreme Court. He vacated the whole situation. They got to do a do-over using the proper paperwork. And he's not going to get overruled. And the similarities of the complaint is, to me, very, very compelling. So you have something that's been vacated, overturned, and a new one ordered right when this stuff is going before courts. And I can tell you this, even though this happened in Georgia. By the way, that's an electoral map of 2020 between Trump and Biden in Georgia. So the point is that this is going to be going. This is going to apply because, or it's at least going to be referred to. I can remember a friend of mine went to court one time, and this was back in the 80s. And he had a judge that was in his 80s. He was retired, but he came in as a substitute judge because the plaintiffs were and defendants were prominent, well-known, and they wanted a mutually agreed to judge. And so they got this particular judge. And this judge, he was retired. He lived to be over 100 years old. And I believe at this time he was probably in his mid to late 80s. And he was hearing the case. And I'll never forget it. Both sides were arguing why they should win. And they were citing case law. So this defendant would cite a case law, and the plaintiff would cite a case law, and they go back and forth saying, back and forth, just like these attorneys did that you saw here. And that judge was looking at the ceiling. Now, if they tried to do a body language thing on this judge, they wouldn't have got much. You see a 80-some-year-old man looking at the ceiling with his finger on his lips and his thumb beneath his chin, just looking at the ceiling, listening. And he said, interrupted somebody. He said, "Go back to that Iowa." He called it Iowa. When he's talking about Iowa. Now, this case was not being heard anywhere near Iowa, but that's what he wanted to rehear. He wanted read to him again. Give me that Iowa case. And the attorneys read the results of that case, and he said, "I like that Iowa case. I like that case. That's what I'm going to go with." And he ruled with the Iowa case, even though he was many states away from Iowa. So that's why I'm saying this Georgia case is going to be referred to. The similarities are striking. And if for people that didn't see my one video and it got cut off at the end, but I want y'all to listen to this, okay?
So I'm going to ask you a legal question, but you only have to answer if you have an understanding about it. If you don't have an understanding, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know. Are you aware that under Arizona law, a ballot is not actually unlawful if it is, the term that's used sometimes is harvested or ballot collection, but if somebody who is not authorized to handle it deposits it, or like what happened at Runback, if somebody brings it and inserts it into the stream, but not into a designated authorized drop box. Are you aware that under Arizona law that is not actually an unlawful ballot?
I think the term in the law is an invalid ballot.
Okay. Just 1 minute, Your Honor. No more questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Honey.
Okay.
That's the key right there. That's the key. That they're dealing in semantics. And this is what the Georgia judge referred to. He said her opinion of what's legal and not legal is not binding on me. That's what that judge said. And what this lady here said was the words in the law say they're invalid. And any judge knows something that is invalid means it's not in comportment with the law. It is invalid means not lawful. Okay? So I know I'm talking little tiny semantics, but hey, that's called brass tacks, folks. And we're going to be getting to the brass tacks. Oh, by the way, like, share, and subscribe. This is viewer supported and creator supported only, this broadcast and this channel. I've got links in the description. If anybody wants to help the channel out, I appreciate it very much. And now I got that out of the way. So that is what I think is news for everybody. And yeah, he did shut him up quick, Bubba. Now, I think that is Mark Elias. I think that is the attorney who is deep in the Clinton camp, has been torturing or trying to torture Donald Trump. We'll see how that goes. I think that was Mark Elias. And he's the one that's big on this lawfare business. But as we can see right here with the Georgia case and this short bit of testimony, it's going to be pretty obvious to anybody paying attention why the outcome they're going to have is going to happen. Because invalid means that it's not a legal situation. So, let me see what else we got here. Here we go. Let me put this up for you. Family friendly. So anyway, And I tell you, I want to talk about the power stations because Wanda in the chats? Wanda mentioned it also. Simpson mentioned that operation I haven't heard too much about. KNS was bringing up the situation in Cuba. Not too many of us heard about. But in Cuba, I can tell you that the last time I ever heard anything going on down there was called the Bay of Pigs. And it was a disaster for Kennedy. And I believe that was planned to be a disaster to knock Kennedy off balance. And there are still prisoners to this day in Cuba from the Bay of Pigs fiasco is what it's referred to as, the Bay of Pigs fiasco. So if there was any kind of attempt at anything down there at Guantanamo Bay, you got to remember they're only 90 miles off the U.S. shores. And there's military facilities in Key West. Anybody that tried anything down there, it would be a crazy person or maybe two crazy people. But I can't imagine there being any kind of organized effort that's going to rattle any cages down there. At GIT, and then the rest of it's MO. But these power grids attacks, they're happening all over the country. I think Wanda put in the last count was 106. And I was talking to a friend of mine. I call him my plumber intel. One happened in North Carolina. And these are mostly, from what I understand, people taking some pretty well-placed shots at transformers and knocking out power stations, but they get put back up in fairly short order. And when you're driving around, you probably passed them before. You see they, just like in the photographs, they got a chain link fence around them. They got these big transformers sitting around and towers and cables coming from them. And why is it happening? And why, when you go to the store to buy eggs, last week they were 18 eggs was $7 and some cents. 2 weeks before that, no kidding, a lady sent me a picture of a receipt. 18 eggs were $6.66. Okay, that was creepy. I should have put a picture of that up on the live stream. $6.66. 2 weeks before that, 18 eggs was $3.78, something like that, less than $4. They went to $6.66, then they went up to $7 and something cents. Today, 18 eggs at Wally's World was $9.16. So we've got, there's Wanda. Hi, Wanda, how you doing? So we've got, and there's Doug. You've been MIA. So we got these situations with food production services being damaged. We've got these situations with the power grid. He's got everybody wondering what's going on. Part of it on the power grids, I'm sure, is organized. Now, this is my opinion. And part of it could be copycats and jerks. But the same thing was happening in Ukraine, in territories that had been captured by the Russians. There were saboteurs going around messing up power grids, and it doesn't take very much. Now, but the thing is, if it was anything, I would say, overly serious, why don't they do something like what somebody did to the Georgia Guidestones? Why do something, a couple of pot shots, and you knock something out that can be repaired within 24 hours? It's odd. It's weird, and we just got to keep an eye on it. But this food distribution and the food production facilities is definitely having an impact on what I'll call staple items. Staples. When you get down to eggs, bread, milk, those are staple items just about every household needs. And at least as far as the eggs go, they're almost at 3 times the price. And when you got a family to feed, when eggs get up to 50 cents a piece from 17 cents a piece, it's a problem. So anyway, some of that might be copycat, but there is something sinister and organized, and why they can't. Who have they caught? Who have they caught doing it? And I can't believe that they're that inept that they couldn't at least catch one of them. Here's a good meme for you. So we're going to have to keep a sharp eye on that. And also have something, I've got a wood stove. I've jabbered about that in the past. I can make my coffee on my wood stove. I can cook my food on my wood stove. I can stay warm by the wood stove. My last resort is stuffing that cat in my coat if I run out of wood. But hopefully it'll never get to that. Where's that cat? But anyway, have some, if you don't have a wood stove, have you some backup heat in the form of propane or natural gas. Something you can cook on. Also, not only provide you heat, but that you can cook on. And have you a charge pack. You don't have to get one of these big expensive things that they say can run a refrigerator or TVs and all. You need something that'll keep your phone charged. Okay? You got everything you need as far as being able to get information, being able to reach out to people with your phone. Now, of course, people say, well, they do a electronic bomb attack and everything gets wiped out. Okay, well, having a huge $1,000 battery pack that's supposed to be able to run a bunch of stuff ain't going to do you any good anyway. So, just having something modest that you can recharge your phone with and something you can stay warm and cook with. You do sense in you cook in a fireplace. Hey, that's the way they used to do back in the day. Nikki's up north, my goodness. Hi, hilarious too. You think the creepers took out their own stones? They could have. Talk about evidence. Yeah, long distance. K&S. New Green Deal. I thought electric cars were the thing going to save everybody. Now, how are they going to charge their goofy little electric cars? Yeah, a lot of people saying they already live off grid. I'm just scrolling through chat, seeing what people are talking about. Let's see. Oh, did you hear about this? You know who's talking about this in the legacy media? Nobody. A news producer. 37 years old. Isn't that something? And this, I'm going to touch on this weirdo. I call him, what's his name? Stankman fraud. What's his first name? Scam Stankman fraud. That's what I call them, scam, stankman, fraud. The SBF case moved to Clinton-appointed Judge Lewis Kaplan, who's allowed garbage Trump RAP and then the last letters E case to continue and oversaw Prince Andrew case 2. As I said, we're in a phase where a lot of these judges and prosecutors are being put in situations where they have to openly make a choice. Either they're going to be crooked or they're going to do the right thing, and it's high-profile stuff. This is his picture. I got it singled out here. That's the judge that's going to hear scam, stankman, fraud. And that's his name right there, Lewis Kaplan. And you know scam, bankman fraud is at home with his parents playing Nintendo in the basement, where if anybody else would have done the kind of stuff he's done, they'd been like Bernie Madoff, never saw the light of day from the time of their arrest. And these are some articles I didn't get to put up last night. We got to keep our antennas up. Well, I don't want to start into that. But Christians are going to be persecuted, and they are being persecuted. So anyway, I'll close out with this young lady here. And you may want to clip this out for your friends to see. Let's just see. Who all's in the chats? Hi, Michael. The problems with evil and the judgments of God. Well, it sounds like a good book to read, hilarious. I put a picture of there, Moses smashing that 10 Commandments the first time it came down. Okay, folks, I'm going to play this video of this young lady who is talking about things that have not been in the spotlight, but will be in the spotlight. So let's all keep our ear to the ground, and I'll be back soon. And I'll cut my mic off so you can hear it. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Hunter Biden's laptop. Ashley Biden's diary entries. Both of them incredibly disturbing. Ashley Biden writing about how she had showers with her dad, Joe Biden. And no, these are not conspiracy theories or right-wing talking points, Russian disinformation. Even the New York Times is admitting that it's actually Ashley Biden's diary. That's why the lady that found it is being investigated for theft. The left-leaning mainstream media are completely ignoring this explosive evidence of how corrupt and sick our current president is. But when Trump was president, they had articles about how Ivanka Trump was wearing too much white during public appearances. You leftist, liberal, Biden voters, or whatever you call yourselves, make me sick. You ignore his relentless racism, and now you're going to ignore this, showers with his daughter?